What comes to mind when you hear the word cartoon? Is it pictures of little babies laughing at an infant cartilaginous fish? Is it Bugs Bunny shooting Daffy Duck in the face with a rifle, or an anvil falling on a coyote's head? Perhaps even you don't think of the television medium, but rather images of Charlie Brown, Calvin and Hobbes, or Beetle Bailey jump into your brain. No matter the thought, there is a common theme in all of these, which is childhood or innocence. Fun. Zany, unadulterated fun. Where anvils don't kill you, and talking stuffed tigers are completely real. Such ideas bring us back to our most innocent states, those moments in time when we were unable to recognize, blissfully, the chaos that surrounded us, and thus the tangible medium that is cartoons becomes a solvent for the abstract idea of childhood innocence. And later, as a result, these cartoons, encapsulating these thoughts of yesteryear, aging like a fine wine, can be revisited for a dopamine-laden dose of nostalgia. It's no secret that with the unpredictable, divided, and downright terrifying times we live in, people are desperate for a sense of normalcy and peace, and therefore nostalgia content has skyrocketed in popularity over the course of the past decade. If you need any further proof of this fact, well, you're watching my channel. I too am not immune to this phenomenon, and it is the underlying passion behind the videos I make. So when I think of the words cartoon and nostalgia as a product of the late 1990s and early 2000s, there is no programming block that resounds more largely in my mind than Kids WB. Kids WB began in 1995 as an attempt by Warner Brothers to overthrow the insanely popular Saturday morning cartoon block, Fox Kids. It started by airing now classic Time Warner animation content, such as the Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, and Freakazoid, the first of which originally aired on Fox Kids before moving over, with the latter two premiering on Kids WB for the first time. With their premiere, Kids WB slowly but surely became a second option to Fox Kids. It aired at 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings, being a literal Saturday morning cartoon block, before quickly implementing an after-school block during the week from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. as well. I have such fond memories of all of these WB cartoons. The Animaniacs especially have a soft place in my heart. The block also quickly began to introduce DC superhero content from the DC animated universe. Superman the Animated Series, the new Batman Adventures, Static Shock, and my personal favorite, Batman Beyond. God, I loved Batman Beyond, and still do. Terry McGinnis is such a great character. I loved it so much, in fact, that I was able to convince my dumb 5-year-old brain that this shitty N64 game was good. It wasn't until 1999, though, when 4Kids granted the WB network the rights to air Pokemon in syndication, that the block truly blew up. This is also when my younger brother and I personally became daily viewers of Kids WB. Pokemon is still extremely successful today. It's a billion-dollar multimedia franchise and is literally the most lucrative video game IP in the world. So for those who weren't there, it's hard to understand how ludicrously insane the Pokemon craze was when it first came out in the 1990s. Imagine Minecraft, Fortnite, Among Us, Five Nights at Freddy's, any game that has come out in the past 10 years that had any kind of insane following on the internet. Take all of those combined and shot up with about 10,000 ounces of ultra steroids. You had parents fist-fighting over video game consoles. You had literal stampedes to buy Pokemon cards to the point that stores limited purchases per customer, and people were paying something like $20 to $30 per pack on the secondary market. And this was in the 90s, so adjusted for inflation, imagine if someone was charging $40 for a single pack of whatever the newest set is. You know how people got about toilet paper last year? Well, it was like that, but because some dad's kid wanted a cardboard copy of Diglett. My point being, it is the understatement of the century to say that the rights to the Pokemon anime could single-handedly carry a network. And along with Pokemon, a whole flood of other anime content from Toonami came with it, and Kids WB cemented itself in the minds of children for the next 8 years. Looking at the list of shows this programming block had over its 13-year-long run just made me realize how it basically acted as the gathering place for the best content from multiple sources. You had your classic Warner Brothers cartoons, you had your DC superheroes, you had your 4Kids and Toonami weeb stuff, you had Sony Pictures television shows, you had Cartoon Network shows. You had a show called Skunk Fu, That's how you know it's going to be good. 1998 through 2005 were truly the years that my brother and I regularly watched this programming block. After acquiring so much content, the weekday afternoon block eventually widened and started airing from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. daily. I remember being in elementary school and looking forward to it every single weekday. You'd be done with school, you quickly tidied your room as fast as possible, and then you and your brother would plop down for the next 2 to 3 hours and unwind from the day. And the truth is, I haven't watched many of these shows since those early days. Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Were the big two. If anything could compete with our love of Pokemon growing up, it was by and large Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially for my brother. Don't get me wrong, we're both obsessed with each series, but his relationship today with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very similar to mine with Pokemon. Cardcaptor Sakura, I always remember mixing this one up with Sailor Moon, and my aunt, who didn't know any better, thought she was buying us some Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and instead bought us the Clow and the cards from the series. I still have it too. That teddy bear fairy guy always creeped me out though. Scooby-Doo. Don't even get me started on how perfect this series is. There's a reason why it is as popular today as it was nearly 60 years ago. And while many kid detective shows have tried to emulate it over the years to varying degrees of success, nothing will top the original. Jackie Chan Adventures. This was always my absolute favorite besides Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, it's cartoon Jackie Chan and his niece battling ninjas, trying to stop an evil organization from using the Chinese zodiac to summon a spirit dragon, that befriend a giant sumo wrestler who was originally a bad guy, and Jackie Chan's uncle has magic powers and uses a glowing pufferfish. Do I really need to say any more about why this show is amazing? Mucha Lucha. This was always an interesting one. It was a very middle-of-the-road show for me if I can remember correctly. I remember thinking it was funny, and the idea of kids training their whole lives for Lucha Libre was a really great concept. There was a lot of fart and poop humor though, which, while it can be funny, didn't always hit the mark for me, even as a kid. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for, folks. The fact of the matter is, there are simply too many incredible shows for me to discuss in this one video. The list is staggering. Earthworm Jim still to this day has some of the best dialogue for a cartoon. Cubix was a fascinating early entry into computer-generated animation for television. The Legend of Calamity Jane and Samurai Jack proved that not only can animation be taken seriously, but can be pure art. Tiny Toons Adventures further showcased Steven Spielberg's genius. Shaolin Showdown was an incredible fusion of Western animation and Eastern anime styles. You have incredible Cartoon Network content coming in the form of Powerpuff Girls, Codename Kids Next Door, and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Teen Titans might just be the best Western animated show ever made. I really would love to go back and take a deeper retrospective dive into some of these shows in future videos. But even with its mountain of truly enjoyable content, what made Kids WB so special to me in my memories was that the block as a whole felt alive, like it was a place meant to be a kid. The bumpers were based in the Warner Brothers backlot with the various characters from the shows interacting, very similarly to the well-loved Cartoon Network City bumpers. The commercials were understandably for the newest snack foods and toys, and there were also contests and sweepstakes all the time, usually connected to the Kids WB website in some way. I actually won one of these sweepstakes, as a matter of fact. I didn't win the crazy grand prize or anything, but I remember when they had a contest for the release of the Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup video game, and you had to write down the times when a neon green Kids WB logo appeared during the bumpers. Basically, it forced you to watch the entire block from beginning to end over the course of multiple days. Then you would submit your entry to the contest, and in order to be considered, you had to correctly name when the green logos had appeared. Well, I submitted my entry, got the logos question correct, and ended up winning a free copy of Harry Potter Quidditch on Game Boy Advance. I did all of this without telling my parents, and they were very suspicious when a large package for their 8-year-old son appeared on the doorstep unannounced. I don't know why she thought this, but my mom thought it might have been a bomb. I think there must have been some news story recently about mail bombings or something, because for whatever reason my mom was super paranoid and convinced about it, and made us wait inside the house for her impending death by explosion as she opened the box in our backyard. But winning that game, and that hilarious memory about my mom, will stick with me because of the WB network, and its afternoon programming block. It made the magic of it all feel that much more real. Unfortunately, Kids WB struggled at the end of the decade as the Time Warner and CBS corporations merged, turning the channel into the CW. And by May of 2008, the programming block shuttered its doors. A website with the same name, which aired classic Warner Brothers cartoons such as the Looney Tunes, remained online for several years afterwards, before it too closed on the same day in May in 2015. Today, as the proliferation of streaming services and YouTube content gives kids nearly unlimited options for media consumption, Kids WB stands as just a shadow, a memory of a time that once was. A programming block that had hit after endless hit and very, very few duds. When I look back at the choices I've made in my life, to go to film school, to pursue animation and media studies in a professional capacity to start this YouTube channel, I can assuredly say that Kids WB had a tremendous impact on those decisions, and my childhood which inspired them. This programming block, those memories of winning a sweepstakes, and sitting in awe with my little brother each school day, it is one of my largest personal wine bottles of nostalgia that I can crack open every once in a while. And for that, I am truly grateful.
We rescued Acme Acres, we did it just in time. We're glad the show is over.